Mike Hernandez is a musician from El Paso, Texas, and he is also the music production teacher and mariachi director at Franklin High School. His mariachi program is rather young, and in such a short time, his kids are going to state. Today, my guest is Mike Hernandez. Welcome to State of the Arts.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you for having me.
So, Mike, I feel like before we get to your kids, let's talk about you and your journey through music, because I learned so much about you just in standing next to you on a stage when we were going between the band you were in, the royalty, and introducing the headliner, Mariachi El Bronx at Chalk the Block. This was years ago. And in that little moment, I was like, Mike's a mariachi? Like, I only ever knew you as like an indie rocker. So yeah, give us a clue. Tell us what's up.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. My musical journey started when I was a kid, got into the music scene, the punk scene pretty early. You know, we all met each other, like going to shows, and it was pretty rock driven for me in the beginning, as early as 13. But when I was getting into like the music I liked, the school programs were always like trying to get players in the guitar program and then the mariachi program. We had a mariachi program in my middle school, and the teacher just, you know, he was a jazz guy. He wasn't a specialist at all, but he handed me this weird instrument and he asked me, hey, can you learn how to play this? Because I was a fairly advanced student by 13.
You were into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really into it. And he saw something in me. And I learned to play this instrument called the vihuela. It's a 5-string mariachi instrument, kind of similar to a guitar. It's tuned like a guitar similarly, but it sounds like a ukulele. It's weird. But I learned how to play it, and I pretty much mastered the instrument within a year based on oral traditions passed down. There was no resources to learn these things. Like, it was all visual based learning. And then we would go to Guadalajara for clinics and go to these workshops with the, you know, Mariachi Vargas guys. But in my free time, I was doing the punk rock stuff and doing the punk bands and having some successes with that. But no one really knew I was doing the mariachi stuff. So it was like
two different things. Yeah.
By the time I was in high school, I was playing in professional groups, making money, doing the mariachi scene and the punk scene. And I had more successes in the rock and roll stuff. Like, you know, my bands were pretty successful locally. And then later, like, we got deals and stuff. But one day we were out on the road. We were in LA. We came back to Chalk the Block. And that's the show that you had booked my band when we were signed to Victory to open up for these mariachi guys in LA. And I remember being backstage. I go, wow, like, this is what I wanted to do the whole time, like a rock mariachi band. And so I got to know them through you, and it all just kind of happened. I started touring with them. The band was Mariachi El Bronx, and it kind of opened my eyes to kind of like the two worlds colliding.
Yeah, because that was literally punk rock and mariachi. And they were messing around with mariachi. Like, I know that the integrity of the music was kept.
They're well respected, even still to this day. You know, people know that I've played with them, and I still tour with them still to this day. They don't really tour much, but, you know, I still get called, and they're good friends of mine. And then, you know, I spun off another group, rock group, mariachi group, from what I learned with them. But it's all original stuff. Going back to mariachi, though, you know, it's back in the 90s and even in the 80s, there was really not a lot of instructional material. The directors were only a director if they were like an orchestra or a band person that had certification. And then the principal was like, oh yeah, you're going to do mariachi. These days in El Paso, there's a lot of mariachi directors that come from this world, the scene, and they're specialists and they know what they're doing. They know the repertoire, they know the techniques, and they know how to teach it because they're musically trained as well. And so I come from that era now where I'm just really trying to pass down what I know from punk rock, the touring world, and the mariachi world to the students. And I feel like the way I'm doing it really accelerated my program because I feel like they have a diverse sense of a person like me who's always been DIY. Yeah. I find resources like crazy.
It's the punk of mariachi. So it's the punk rock approach to mariachi, which is probably why you're having the success you're having, is what you're saying.
I think so. When it comes to doing it yourself, I've always been doing that my whole life. And if I'm working at a school or we don't have resources, I'm using everything I have to get the kids what they need. And then this year, you know, it's our third year, and this is our second time going to state competition, which is very hard.
So you've been around 3 years, and 2 of those 3 years you guys have gotten to state?
Yeah, and this year is special because last year we it was our first year. We were all learning. I was learning,
Right.
what this event is. And when you go to compete in Texas Mariachi UIL, it's like the Friday Night Lights of mariachi. These kids, they're playing at such a high level. South Texas, Central Texas, East Texas, and West Texas, we all get together. And these kids are, I mean, they're amazing to watch because it's not only about the playing, it's about the showcasing, the theater, the glam.
Yeah.
It's everything like with these concerts and competitions, and the kids get really into it.
So what was it like? I mean, the idea of going and then you get there, you're like, whoa, because I know like in sports, for example, our kids are killing it. And then you get there and it's like, whoa, where did all these Amazonian kids come from? Right. All of a sudden it's like, okay, like this is next level.
You hit it on the nail because like the first time I went, I thought we had a good group and I worked my butt off. They worked their butt off. We got there and it's like sports team mentality.
Yeah.
It's like a whole new level of music traveling too for the kids because for me, traveling in a band on a tour bus is fun. It's family, it's freedom. But like when you're in a school with kids and you're going to go compete and travel to play music, it's like you got to have your mind right. No one gets sick. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and somebody could knock over a microphone, which actually happened my first year. I got nervous. I mean, there's stage adrenaline and there's anxieties that they go through that
Sure.
they have not necessarily been exposed to here in West Texas. But when you go to compete at the state level, you got to be like the best of the best to compete. And they are, everybody is. All the groups that made it in El Paso deserved it. They're all my colleagues. We all went to high school and college together. They all come from the same music scene. And it's kind of special. We all help each other. The high schools like Pebble Hills, America's High School, El Dorado, Eastlake, we're all using each other as resources, clinicking and showing the kids that, yeah, it's a competition, but it stays like that on the stage.
It's also a community, right?
Yeah, because these kids need to know that when they stop competing, they're going to be playing with everybody in the scene at some point.
Yep.
That we're trying to show them as like directors. We all play in groups together. We all play in different various music together, classical, jazz. It's everything that we all do. It's very fun when you get the kids out there and they see that. This year, I have a really strong group because I learned a lot from like the past. And every year you get a little bit better if you kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. One thing at a time. And then like, I guess it's nice to get your feet wet too. If you've been there before. Are any of your kids like repeat offenders? Did they go last year and they're going to go back?
Oh, yeah. Once I train a person to be a part of the group, the varsity group, and they got a strong voice, they're a strong player, I've developed them, and they go see that, they want to go back every time.
Yeah, of course.
The only downfall is like every year, like I lose really good players. That's just how it is. It's high school.
Right.
But I like to see them move on. I've had students move on and they're like, hey, can you go watch my band at the Battle of the Bands? And I did that just this past weekend and they're doing stuff, but they're all mariachis too. Like they're kind of like me.
The cycle continues. So you were telling me about this other program that you have. You have music production, like you have the studio, like your kids are learning how to like produce music.
My music production program here at Franklin, it's a program where it's a 4-year course where the kids learn about song composition and how to record using digital tools. We have a fully functional state-of-the-art recording facility at Franklin High School, and it's been taking years to develop and maintain. And I teach a curriculum of composition, studio recording, studio life. And then the upper course levels, I teach music business, which I have a lot of experience in, how to distribute your music, publishing, licensing, all the aspects of how to make money with music and expose the children to different jobs other than just being an artist. There's a lot of music jobs. There's people who pick music for television. There's people who are entertainment lawyers. There's people who do the lighting at the concerts. Like these are all things that kids don't really think about, getting in a good career with, And so that's my other program.
That's so crazy. And I mean, did you ever picture yourself being a high school teacher running a mariachi program and a studio?
No, not at all. I was not the best student, but I love music. And at a certain point in my 20s, after I had toured and had some successes, I had no skills other than the music stuff. And, I went to school for music just because that was the only thing I thought I could handle. I never was disciplined enough to do any other career, but when it came to music, I can go to school for music because it never felt like school. But
Right.
I do tell some of my students, school is a place that you make of it, like I made it a fun place for me because all I did was want to get out of there to play in my punk rock band, after school. But the kids play here, they rehearse, and everybody's here. I give them that opportunity that I never had. And that's what makes it cool because I think that if I had that, I would have been so grateful. And the kids seem grateful. But I never liked school, to be quite honest with you. I didn't like college, but I was good at it. And then I'm here at a high school, and it's ironic. It really is.
I mean, it's like you can identify with your kids too, because it's hard, but you know what? You get through it and then you move on, and
Yeah.
you just push.
If anything, you're just showing them that get into what they, are interested in, and it's not going to be a hard time. Be positive, have some goals, try to achieve them, and I've always been that kind of person. So I think the kids see that, and I think they like that.
Are you still playing music outside of what you do at the school?
Yeah, I'm all around. I did a mariachi country record at our local recording studio, Sonic Ranch, for like a country singer. I played at the Grand Ole Opry with her like last year. I get hired to do records, and I do my own records at the studios there. And I'm very active. I do mariachi, traditional mariachi, and then like the rock and roll stuff. It comes and goes. There's some talk that some of the old bands are going to get back together that I was a part of, and it's always active. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah. My dad is super passionate about music, and he plays every single day. And it doesn't matter if there's anybody watching. Like it's not about that.
Right. That's the same way I am. I get hired to do stuff. Sometimes I just do it on my own. Then sometimes the kids, like right now, they're working on song compositions and song contest stuff, and I'm in the studio with them, just helping them, record stuff.
So like the day isn't over. I mean, technically it's after school, but like there's still music happening.
Oh yeah, like I stay late after school all the time because it's like studio life and like rehearsals. I mean, that's where the magic happens is after school, This is only an hour in a class.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I wish I had a teacher like you when I was in school. And these kids are, I'm sure they're loving it. I mean, you can tell. I mean, you've been doing this, a program for 3 years. You've got the production studio, and like we record late, but it's almost 6 o'clock, and you and the kids are still there. So you must be doing something right.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And it's great. It's great. I love the school. I love my administrators. They're super supportive of what I've been able to achieve here. Everybody's been pushing for this to be very successful. So yeah, it's a lot of help from everybody else too.
Really cool. Well, today my guest has been Mike Hernandez, a musician in his own right, and he's helping shape the future of musicians here in El Paso. He's the Mariachi Director and music production teacher at Franklin High School. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on State of the Arts.
Thank you for having me.